It's time to look back on the top 20 stories of 2020, and it's always exciting when the entire Jersey Sports Zone team can get together. We'll go around the horn. In the upper left-hand corner, it's Neri Rodriguez, James Mooney, and Jay Cook in the top row with Mike Frankel, Kenneth Bradley, and yours truly, Rich Krampanis. Chance for us to look back on a year that we'll certainly never forget. No question about that. Want to jump right into our top 20 stories. You can go on to jerseysportszone.com and look at our list, and we'll have links to all of these stories that we're talking about. But when you start at number 20, this was something that really is something I'm never going to forget. I was in Elizabeth for the Bergen Catholic St. Peter's Prep sectional championship game, boys basketball, an incredible game that finished in overtime. And no one knew it at the time, but that was the last game that we were going to shoot from the basketball season. And Jay, I know that you had a chance to cover Bergen and St. Peter's as well. It really was a surreal moment as everything unfolded.
Yeah, Bergen and St. Peter's, two teams that had a lot of young talent. St. Peter's obviously led by Mark Armstrong, who's picked up a ton of offers since the season ended. He was really the catalyst to their team. And for Bergen Catholic, it was guys like Will Richardson leading the way, along with Matt Zona, who's now at Notre Dame. So both teams loaded with a lot of talent. That really was an incredible game.
And the knockout punch comes courtesy of Julian Brown, the steal, and the awesome reverse. 73-66 is your final in double overtime, making 2 straight sectional titles for the Crusaders.
I think the part that was incredible to me was as I was shooting the game, the reality of the pandemic happened in real time. If everybody might remember, the state championships were suddenly moved to Phillipsburg during the game. At halftime, we found out that Phillipsburg refused to host the state championships. And by the time I got in my car, the NBA announced that they were halting all play because Rudy Gobert from the Jazz contracted coronavirus.
I just want the opportunity to coach this group of kids again because they're just terrific kids. I'd play the game outside at a park somewhere if they wanted to.
I didn't know it at the time, but that was the last game we shot as we all kind of went into a shell mode, and that was the end. There was one more game played the following day in Elizabeth. We decided out of abundance of caution to not shoot that game, and then season over. So that is quite a way to start at number 20. We'll move on to number 19, a little more happier news from the fall. Gill St. Bernard's emerged as the number 1 team in the state in boys soccer. There were no formal state championships, but I think everyone agreed that Gill, Jay, was a special team to watch.
Gill was electric throughout this 2020 season. Guys like Micah Garnett, Gavin Scavino, a team that really was able to push the ball up the pitch whenever they wanted to. Garnett, obviously, just mentioned him, was one of the top all-around players of the year, and I think was really the major catalyst to that Gill team. I got to see Gill St. Bernard's play at Pingree and beat them in the regular season. I also saw them play Monroe in a game that went into double overtime and was called due to darkness because there was no lights at Gill St. Bernard's, called in about the 94th, 95th minute. So Gill really had this incredible run throughout the season, and it all came down to the end, Rich, where you got to see them in their quote-unquote sectional final against Pingree in that second matchup.
3 minutes later, Garnett with the touch to Scavino, and this left foot is simply spectacular. Upper 90 for Gavin Scavino. I'll tell you what, that's one of the best goals we've seen this year. Scavino mopped by his team. Take another look at this shot. Gavin Scavino gives Gill a 3-1 lead, 22:38 to go.
They were sensational, and we should mention Monroe. Neri's got a chance to cover Monroe extensively. They were the only team to tie Gill, and they had a special season as well, didn't they, Neri?
Yeah, actually, I got a chance to film Gill earlier in the year against Princeton Day, but Monroe actually wound up winning in double overtime for the quote-unquote state championship against a very good Elizabeth team. So for for that to be their only tie for both teams was extraordinary. But Gil was definitely in a class by themselves in 2020.
We're going to move on now to number 18. We get to tell so many stories that go beyond the score. And I know, Neri, this one was a story that I thought you did some marvelous storytelling when it comes to Leon Jones from Notre Dame. And this is the true definition of a comeback story.
After being taken to Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital in New Brunswick, it was revealed he was paralyzed from the waist down. Luckily, after 48 hours, he regained feelings in his limbs. Fast forward 3 months later, a crowd in Lawrenceville welcomes Leon back as the multi-sport athlete takes the court on senior day to celebrate the memories he's built the last 3 years on the varsity basketball team. And it's only fitting that those who were with him during those dark hours were right by his side, as they not only witnessed Leon walk, but helped lead his team to a W.
Not too long ago, I had an accident where I was scared if I was just going to be the same athlete that I possibly was. And just to be out here on my senior night playing with my guys is just a blessing. So that's all I can say.
The game before we went to, he had gotten some minutes, but the game we got to shoot, fortunately, was his first start. Afterwards, I interviewed both of his parents. He also had some family there. And it was a very emotional sight. He was beyond grateful to be playing, and his family could only just watch in tears. So they thanked us for our work and our coverage, and it was just one of those stories that was remarkable, and it was an honor to be part of it.
There's so many great inspirational stories in New Jersey, and we try to find them any chance we can. Let's move on to number 17. South Jersey ruled the day when it came to Mr. and Miss Hoop Zone for the year 2020. Lance Ware from Camden winning Mr. Hoop Zone. Kylie Watson from Mainland is our Miss Hoop Zone. And Mike, those are two outstanding representatives as this award continues to build its legacy now through 3 years.
So, Rich, you're talking about two kids in Lance Ware and Kylie Watson that just did everything for their teams last season. We'll start with Lance Ware, and, the key piece of a Camden team that was arguably the top team in the state. Honestly, we'll never know if they were because of the way the season ended, but it's hard to argue against the Panthers. 29-1. Lance Ware, just a monster in the middle on that team. Slam dunks, blocked shots, assists, very underrated passer. Obviously, we're all getting a chance to watch him at the University of Kentucky right now. But, here's a kid that could have averaged 25, 30 points per game for a lot of the teams in the state. Camden didn't need that from Lance Ware. They did need the senior leadership. He was the only senior in the rotation there for the Panthers last season. He provided that. And make no mistake, he could also ball out on the court. I mean, he was a double-double machine in all of Camden's big games. You're talking about victories over some of the other marquee teams in the state, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But, well-deserved Lance Ware taking home the award last season. Kylie Watson, this is a kid who had Division I offers, guys, before she even set foot on the floor as a freshman in high school. So think about the pressure that comes along as a 14-year-old kid. But all Kylie Watson did for the next 4 years is not only meet those expectations, but surpass them. All-time leading scorer at Mainland, over 2,000 career points, over 1,000 career rebounds. This is a player that led the Mustangs to the Group 3 state championship as a junior. Another tremendous season as a senior, as Watson led Mainland to the South Jersey Group 3 final and also the Cape Atlantic League championship game. And Watson, to be honest, a lot of nice players around her. She's the only Division I basketball player on that team. So a little bit different than the situation for Lance Ware. Watson was really, the focal point of every opposing team on Mainland's schedule. And every single time she met the challenge, she got the points she needed to get, leading Mainland to so many of those victories. So an outstanding career for Watson, outstanding career for Lance Ware. Looking forward to watching both of those at the Division I level at both Oregon and Kentucky for the next several years here.
Yeah, so having covered both Ware and Watson, very deserving for Mr. and Miss Hoop Zone, respectively. Mike hit a few good points. Where his unselfishness on the court was the thing that stood out most to me. He 100% could have been that 20, 30 point a game guy, but he was whatever Camden needed him to be, that senior leader, that guiding hand. And Ware was arguably the reason why that loaded Camden team was arguably the top team in the state. And then you look at Kylie Watson, she was everything that Mainland needed her to be. She was the facilitator when they asked her to do it. But then there were other times where she told her teammates, get on my back, I'll carry you. And I think that's what made her just such an outstanding player here. And Kentucky and Oregon have got wonderful players for the next few years on their campuses.
Yeah, and it's a real reminder of the impact of the top athletes in New Jersey and how surreal it is that here we were running around chasing these kids in gyms, and now you see in the box score Kylie Watson playing for one of the best women's basketball teams in America. And I know Kentucky is struggling right now, but it is cool to see Lance Ware getting minutes in his first year with Coach John Calipari. So pretty good stuff. We move now to story number 16, and we stay with Camden. This is a story that I think is just beginning with one of the best players in the entire country in DJ Wagner, who I think is going to become a star on the level of other great New Jersey basketball players like Kyrie Irving and Karl Anthony Towns. Mike and James, you got a chance to see Camden up close. I know that they wanted that closure of being the Tournament of Champions winner, but I think, we can give them the mythical championship for 2020.
Yeah, Rich, you're absolutely right. DJ Wagner is a kid who is on the national radar. Arguably the top freshman in the country last season, playing right here in the state of New Jersey. But, DJ Wagner is only part of the story. And let's set the table with this. Camden hasn't won a state championship since DJ's dad, DeJuan Wagner, was a junior all the way back in 2000. That's a little hard to believe because it feels to so many of us that Camden is right there every single year, and they are. They just haven't won that state championship. Obviously, they didn't get to that level last season through no fault of their own, coronavirus concerns shutting things down before Camden was able to play Manasquan in the state semifinal last year. But what a story that has become. DJ Wagner now heading into his sophomore season, but as a freshman, just lighting it up for Camden. Talk about Lance Ware, we just spoke about him, Taquan Woodley, Jerome Brewer. Arguably 5 Division I kids on the floor at one time for Camden. 29-1. They beat every team that they faced from the state of New Jersey on their schedule. Their only loss, coming to a Catholic League powerhouse from Philadelphia. But 29-1. All of these marquee events. Camden doesn't even have a home gym last year, guys. People also forget that. So they're playing basically their entire season on the road, a handful of games at Rutgers, Camden. They headed out to Newman University. They beat Roselle Catholic there. They beat Wildwood Catholic in overtime. And then they finished their season ultimately against a rival, Haddonfield, in their sister school, Woodrow Wilson's home gym. Just standing room only. Everywhere Camden went last season, it's a town that's truly hungry for that state championship. Again, things were beyond their control last year. I truly believe that Camden would have been right there to try to end that over streak, if you will, and get that program back to where everyone around that program wants it to be. But this season obviously is going to have its own challenges. But again, DJ Wagner is going to have a few more years there to try to get a state championship back to the city of Camden.
James, you got a chance to see him as well. What's your takeaway getting to see, really one of the best teams, not only in New Jersey, but the country?
Yeah, Rich. It was really an experience when you went to a Camden game. Like Mike said, there wasn't a home game. So the amount of fans they had at every single game, it was surreal almost, just to see them take over an opposing team's gym or even take over a showcase. And to watch the way Rick Brunson had every single guy on the court playing as one, 5 guys as a unit, it was special. It was really unbelievable to watch DJ Wagner as a freshman dominate the way he did. He looks like a senior. It's actually unbelievable, but it'll be really special to watch him the next few years.
We move on now to number 15 on our top 20 stories of 2020, and we go to the sport of wrestling. There's a lot of emphasis individually in New Jersey high school wrestling, but this story is a team story. And Jay, you were there when Delbarton got the win over Bergen Catholic.
And that closed the door on one of the single biggest wins in program history at Delbarton. 45-12 is the final. Talk about rising to the occasion. Delbarton fielded one of their most complete lineups in recent memory this season, and it all worked out as the Green Wave won 12 bouts over Bergen Catholic.
This match had everything Bergen Catholic came in with a 96-match win streak against NJSI AA opponents, which, I mean, think about that. That's really incredible. Delbarton pulled off the upset. I mean, that was really the match of the year. If Delbarton could get through them, it was, I don't want to call it a cakewalk, but it was almost a sure thing that they were going to win a state title, and they did. They ended up defeating Bergen Catholic 45-12. They went on to win the A North sectional final against St. Joe Montvale, and then won the non-public A state final against St. Augustine down in Toms River. That Delbarton team was stacked. PJ Casal, Luke Chaconis, Anthony Clark, guys that are really going to go down in history as top-tier Delbarton wrestlers, helped put the Green Wave on the map to really close out a special season in Morristown.
And Kenneth, you get to see wrestling a lot. I know that was something that the wrestling community was really buzzing about, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Like Jay talked about, all those guys that were on their team not only going to go down as some of the best in Delbarton history, but some of them in New Jersey history. You know, Clark, a 4-time New Jersey State finalist. That's something that's almost unheard of. Only a few guys have made it to the finals 4 times throughout their high school career, and ending up as a 3-time state champ. Now, wrestling in the Ivy League at Princeton, as a bunch of other Delbarton guys have in the past. And they also talked about how packed Delbarton fans were able to take over gyms. Delbarton really ran the show down in Toms River. There's multiple other group state championship matches going on down there, and the sea of green that was in Toms River truly stole the show, and they absolutely dominated a very, very good St. Augustine team. Almost made them look like a JV team in their dominant performance. So very impressive on a team and individual level by Delbarton.
Okay, we move on to number 14 in our top 20 of 2020, and we go on the ice. We didn't know it at the time, but these would be the last state championships that we would cover, amazingly. And CBA Colts out of the Shore Conference plays in the Gordon Cup, had a tremendous year. They were, no question, the top team on the ice, Jay. And usually when you talk MVPs, you're thinking of a guy, a 20 or 30 goal scorer. But for CBA, they had one special goalie, John Donohoe, who won our Player of the Year award.
I mean, he's literally the reason why we're here. He had 7 shutouts on the season. He's the backbone of our team. I mean, sometimes we get outshot, and we can rely on Donohoe to save us when we need him the most. He really is one of the best goaltenders in the state, and is the best goaltender in the state. Mark my words.
Yeah, John Donohoe was a brick wall. John Donohoe arguably was the reason that CBA went on to win the non-public state championship. Now, look, that's a CBA team that has a lot of firepower offensively, also very good defensively, too. And Donohoe would tell you that. It wasn't all him. It was his defense allowing him to see the shots that he wanted, and his offense giving him a 1 or 2 goal lead. But with that lead, John was just a complete shutdown goalie. CBA went on to win 20 games this past season. They won the Gordon Cup. They beat Don Bosco 4 times. You're going to have to go back and look through the record books. Not many teams have beaten Don Bosco 4 times in a season. That is incredibly hard to do. They're one of the premier teams in all of New Jersey. John had 501 saves last season and a save percentage of .928. So when you look for that body of work that John had, he was a lockdown goalie. And think about this. John was only a sophomore, and it was his first season playing New Jersey high school hockey. He's from the Pennsylvania area. So CBA is going to have John Donohoe for 2 more seasons, and that's a scary thought for hockey teams across the Shore Conference and in the Gordon Conference as well.
Yeah, Jay, and when you talk about the Gordon Conference, we put a lot of emphasis, rightfully so, on how good North Jersey high school football is, and it's a super conference. The Gordon Conference in New Jersey high school hockey is absolutely unbelievable. And it is very rare for teams to win the Gordon and a state championship, and CBA was able to accomplish that. And, there are so many talented players up and down across the state. You've got St. Augustine and Gloucester Catholic. Gloucester upset Delbarton. That was another great story of the hockey season. but CBA ruled the roost, no question about it, when it came to hockey in 2020. We arrive at number 13 on our top 20 of 2020, and we go back to the wrestling mat. Girls wrestling in its second full season of state championships. Certainly, numbers are going to rise when it comes to girls wrestling in New Jersey, but there is instant credibility because one of the pioneers of New Jersey girls high school wrestling, Jewel Gonzalez of Phillipsburg, back-to-back state championships. Jay and Kenneth, we were all there on the mat, and we're really marveled at a dominating performance.
28 seconds into the third, Gonzalez is able to get the armbar locked in, and there is the pinfall. Jewel Gonzalez is a two-time state champion, winning the 2020 161-pound title.
Jewel is as terrifying a wrestler that you would come across on the boys' side and the girls' side. When you look at what she did these last 2 years, it's really a shame that we didn't get to see Jewel Gonzalez go and wrestle 4 years for 4 state championships. That one's going to hurt to not see. But Jewel, she gets out on the mat, and she is very cerebral, and Kenneth will get into this as well. Just the way that she knows how to attack her opponent. Jewel's going to go down definitely as one of the top Phillipsburg wrestlers, and I know that the coaching staff there at Phillipsburg believes that as well. She's going to have her name up on the wall there with a whole bunch of incredible state liner wrestlers in their long storied history.
Outstanding is, is putting it lightly. If she didn't go to Phillipsburg, Jewel Gonzalez would definitely be a dominant force, even in the boys lineup at many other high schools in the state of New Jersey, even at some of the other very good and storied programs. The dominance that she portrayed, not just in Atlantic City for 2 years, but throughout the season, had multiple varsity wins for the Phillipsburg team. And when I saw her against Hunterdon Central, which, if anyone knows New Jersey wrestling, Hunterdon Central and Phillipsburg, that is a big time rivalry. That's Yankees, Red Sox. She wrestled in the JV match and first period pin. People were talking about her. That was my first time seeing her wrestle live, and she, like Jay said, went out with the dominant attitude, attack style wrestling. You can tell she really embodies that Phillipsburg wrestling style and attitude. And yeah, like as a pioneer of the girls wrestling in New Jersey, she's definitely going to be remembered for a very, very long time.
One of the fun things I got to cover was when Jewel won her state championship. They tipped me off during the interview that it's a Phillipsburg tradition. When you win a state championship, you go and run into the ocean. So running up the stairs, and I got my fitness test in a hurry, and Jewel was able to get to the ocean way quicker than me. But it was really cool to see her get into the ocean. Mike, Atlantic City, that's your turf. I think it's the best sporting event in the state when it comes to high school sports, the wrestling state championships. You've seen the girls now come onto the scene. 2020 was the first year that they cleared the mats and treated the girls state championships just like the guys. What was it like for you seeing it so many years and the evolution now of a sport that is on the rise in girls wrestling? We should mention another two-time state champ, Chloe Ayers from Princeton High School. Her dad's the head coach at Princeton University, and how important it is for girls wrestling to really put a footprint on the New Jersey high school sports scene.
It was just a tremendous move by the NJSIAA, Rich. As we talked about, 2 years ago was the first season that there were the girls' state finals at Boardwalk Hall. And, the finals didn't necessarily get the spotlight there. And I think that was something the NJSIAA took notice of. You had girls' final matches going on alongside is, runner-up matches, if you will, the third place matches and the fifth place matches. And there was just a lot going on. And to be quite honest, the girls deserved the spotlight. So I think the NJSIAA saw what happened that first year, made some tweaks, and they fixed it, quite frankly. And the girls deserve that spotlight. We keep, it's cliche to keep using the word spotlight, but that's truly what it is at Boardwalk Hall. You have this tremendous historic venue, 9,000, 10,000 people in there when the place is sold out. And the spotlight is literally on one mat on the center of the floor. And it's something that, all state finalists deserve. Certainly the girls now, as this has become truly, a co-ed sport, if you will, the girls worked so hard to get to Atlantic City. They deserve to have that spotlight. They got it last year. Some of the kids we had just talked about, just tremendous wrestlers. I'd put them up against, many of the boys in the state as well. But just the event as a whole, girls, boys, state finals at Boardwalk Hall the entire weekend. To be honest with you, I was not a wrestler in high school. I was the kid, on the basketball practice court, watching the wrestlers carrying each other up and down the steps and saying, hey, that's not for me. I didn't really understand it in my younger days, but now in wrestling, all the credit, all the respect in the world to those kids. It's something that I would have never been able to do, and they deserve, and there's that word again, they deserve that spotlight to be at Boardwalk Hall and to have the fans cheering their name and to have that moment. And girls, boys, just a tremendous weekend in Atlantic City.
Kenneth is our most decorated wrestler, with Jay not far behind, and maybe we'll have to have him carry Mike up the stairs here during the next Jersey Sports Zone staff meeting. All right, let's move on to number 12. This was something where our team faced a unique adversity. We were grounded. Our lives are shooting a game literally almost every day. I always say 6.5 days a week, because when you say, oh, we have Sundays off, there was always seemed to be one of us out there shooting on a Sunday. So that's why I say 6.5 days a week. And we went from being able to shoot all the time and tell these great stories to all of a sudden we're trying to figure out a way to provide content for people who are all quarantined just like us. And one of the first ideas we came up with was a chance to say goodbye to the high school basketball season. While we didn't have state championships, we wanted to do something special. And anybody who watches the NCAA basketball tournament on the Monday night, the final night of the season, the championship, after the trophy's handed and the confetti comes down, CBS Sports closes out their college basketball coverage with one shining moment. They've done it now for decades. And we were able to contact the composer of One Shining Moment and get permission for 1 year only to do our version of One Shining Moment for basketball.
It's more than a contest. It's more than a race. One shining moment.
So we don't actually get a lot of opportunities like this. So for us to reach out and be able to be associated with that song, like you said, Rich, I've watched the tournament, and that's always one thing I look forward to. So to be associated with something like that and see our footage on there and just see, just kind of a reflection of all the hard work that these athletes put into a season that was left with a huge question mark was really fulfilling. And unfortunately, there was no state championship. But I guess a silver lining there was this segment made a lot of people happy, and we got a lot of good feedback. So it was one highlight the entire time I've been at Jersey Sports Zone for sure.
And Mike, you and I are kind of the older guard, me being the oldest guard, unfortunately. One Shining Moment really resonates with the diehard college basketball fan. And as a Syracuse guy, you always knew somebody from the Orange was going to be on One Shining Moment. And I thought for me, one of the highlights was even some of the coaches reaching out to us saying, I finally made One Shining Moment. So it was a fun project to work on.
You're right, Rich. When you watch that song year after year in the tournament, it's not just about the shots, from the players. It's the shots of the coaches. It's the cheerleaders. It's all of that stuff sprinkled in. I actually got a chance to intern at CBS Sports in my younger days. And I remember, how geeked out, some of the editors and the producers were in putting that together and taking all of these different shots and sort of putting them into this perfect, 2.5, 3 minutes of television. And that's what we were, got a chance to do with this. And it was just, a perfect moment, a situation where, they just got it right. A lot of times you ask to do something like this, and the answer is no, and for good reason. And this is a money making endeavor, under normal circumstances. But just in the climate of the coronavirus and the whole sports world getting shut down, this is just a situation where everyone got it, and it made sense, for the author and the writer of the song to lend it to whoever was asking for it. That happened to be Jersey Sports Zone, and I think the editing on that piece was tremendous on our side of it, just to show, as you just mentioned, some of the coaches, some of the administrators in the shots, the fans. Thinking back, now we're so used to having no one's in the seats in the stands when we watch college or NBA games, but we were coming off of a season of packed gyms, and so to have some of the crowd shots and the coaches and all of that to go along with some of the most memorable made baskets and moments, it was just perfect to wrap up the season in that way. And honestly, it was an imperfect ending to the season, but it was a chance to kind of put a cherry on top, the best we could for what up to that point had been a tremendous ride.
Yeah, I wish we could do it every year. Maybe we need to find some young New Jersey high school composer to give us our own one shining moment, our own song, and we can start that tradition. It is fun to put it all together, and the thing I'm most proud of is it's a great representation of the six of us literally getting to every nook and cranny of the state. I love seeing the South Jersey stuff. I love seeing the GMC when Neri's there, and it's awesome stuff. So one shining moment is certainly something that we're always going to remember. It'll be part of the history of Jersey Sports Zone, even though we're probably only going to get to do it one time. But it was a good time to cash that chip in for the year 2020. So now we get to number 11. This is a story that goes well beyond sports. It was something we dealt with during the pandemic. It kind of came up out of nowhere when Scotty Lewis, who's now at the University of Florida, literally put Randy basketball on the map along with Brian Antoine, staged a peaceful protest in Asbury Park at the height of the Black Lives Matter movement.
Scotty, what did this moment mean for you?
Yo, guys, thank you so much. It means everything for us. You know what I mean? This is not about us. This is not about me. This is not about black versus white. This is about what is right and what is wrong. We stand for something. We stand for equality. We stand for peace, love, and positivity, and that's what we want to spread into the world.
I mean, when you got there, you really saw an embodiment of who Scotty Lewis is as a young man, and there's no questions about it. Scotty Lewis looking to make a difference in his community, and he's shown that he will most certainly do that.
And to see Scotty Lewis and the Asbury Park police literally hand in hand talking and hugging, it's something I'll always remember. And Kenneth, I know that this is something that Scotty was able to, be a part of your narrative as well.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go to the rally that Scotty held, but I was in the peaceful protest in Asbury. It was just a few days before, I believe. And I got to meet Scotty over the summer for the first time. Obviously, I'd seen him play basketball before and amazing on the court. But off the court, talk about someone who truly has a good head on his shoulders and just a captivating aura about him. He's, great, positive kid. People really gravitate towards him because he knows the direction not only he's going in, but the direction that he's going in is what a lot of other people want to follow in as well. Group of my friends and myself, we had a rally in Jackson, and Scotty, Monmouth County kid, a lot larger profile than what we had, and he came down. He came down, joined us, walked with us, and hung out, and we talked. And you can just tell that he's someone that is really trying to make a difference in his community, trying to help make a betterment for his community going forward, and not to and educate people on the issues that are going on. He's someone who truly is trying to reach out and help other people. And I know that I've talked to him a little bit recently, and I know he's starting a podcast soon, and he even had a rally down in Florida as well. So he's not just a New Jersey kid. He's doing this and making an impact all over the United States.
as Scotty Lewis continues his career and becomes more of a global brand when he does make it to the NBA, I think everyone's going to find out that he's much, much more than a basketball player. And it's an important reminder that the kids we cover, we put so much focus on the games and the highlights, and that's what we love doing the most. But we are going to have people that play New Jersey high school sports that are going to do things well beyond the sport that they're playing. We're going to see future leaders in so many different things, both young men and young women. And that's what it's all about here at Jersey Sports Zone. And that's a good place for us to take a pause. We've got 10 stories down, 10 to go. Coming up tomorrow, we'll all get back together and we'll count down the top 10 stories of 2020. For James Mooney, Jay Cook, Mike Frankel, Kenneth Bradley, and Neri Rodriguez, I'm Rich Krampanis. Thanks so much. Enjoy the last week of 2020. I can't wait to say goodbye. 2021 will be here before you know it.